From the Oklahoman newsroom, it's time for the Energy FC Weekly Update. I'm joined by two guests, one we know, one we're going to get to know. Steve Cooke, coach of the Energy, is joining us again. And then Rokas Putkas is joining us. How'd I do on that?
Good. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay, all right, I'm getting it. He is an Olympic development program player from here in the state of Oklahoma, from Stillwater, one of the best young players in the state. We'll learn more about him here in just a moment. But first, let's talk some Energy, because there's lots to talk about, Steve, and some pretty darn good stuff within that to talk about. 3 matches in the last week or so. You guys were out west, then you come home. You get 2 wins, the last 2, really starting to put some goals on the board. And really, all 3 of those games, you had some positives. Even that loss out at Seattle. What did you like about the 3 matches the last week or so?
Yeah, I think it was a very good week, and obviously since we last spoke, it's been not only a couple of wins, but 3 good performances, all very different in their own way. And I think actually for the purists, with the ball, we actually did very, very well in Seattle, and probably in terms of attacking and playing with the ball, we did one of our best performances of the season, had a lot of opportunities to score goals, couldn't quite do it, and then got hurt in the last 10 minutes a little bit. But certainly then the character, the attitude of the players really shone through away in Portland, who are one of the best teams in the league, and then coming home and winning on Saturday in front of our own fans. 3 games in 6 days is always tough, and I think the players really shone through in that game and showed just how much they care and what great characters they are.
The fact that you were playing so many games so quickly and had a good performance but a loss in Seattle, to then come back with that next road game, with that road trip, and win. How important was that? I'm sure it gave you momentum into the weekend, but to not get discouraged, how important was that for your guys?
It's huge, and we've discussed this before. You know, whenever players feel good about themselves, whenever they're happy and they feel confident because they've, maybe scored a few goals or they've got a couple of wins, they're better players because of it, and they're good to be around, and they work a little bit harder, and they really feel focused on what they're doing. And I think the credit to the players, because they really have been putting in the work. They've really been doing a great job on a daily basis in training, and I think to get the reward this last week has been justification for all that work, and hopefully there's plenty more of that to come.
It seemed like goal scoring was the big thing for your guys. 7 goals in the first 13 matches, and then 5 in the last 2. And you're getting multiple players seeing that ball go in the back of the net. Before that match at Seattle, you had no players with multiple goals. Now you've got 4 guys, including Jaime Siaj, who is on the USL Team of the Week. You're getting goals from a lot of guys. Why is that happening? Why is it happening now?
If I knew the answer to that, I'd be an absolute genius. Sometimes I think it's fairy dust. I think in many of the games that we haven't scored, we've actually created more clear opportunities and better opportunities at goal. In Portland, we didn't create as many, but we were good enough to score 2, and then this weekend we got 3. So I think sometimes it's maybe in the lap of the gods a little bit, but again, I think a lot of it can come down to the confidence of the player, how they feel about themselves at the time, and when you get on a little roll, sometimes they come in bunches like that. So again, I think the credit to the players, they've stuck at the task, they've really come through a difficult period together very strong, and I think they're only going to get better and stronger because of that.
Do you sense, guys like Miguel Gonzalez scoring first goal of the year, do you sense guys sort of building on each other as goals are scored, more of these goal scorers see the opportunities there?
Absolutely, and I think it creates a competition within the group as well. So it's not so easy just to go and go about your business. You've got to actually then compete with each other every single day in training, and you've got to have to compete then at the weekend to earn your spot and to then go out and perform when you get your minutes. And every single player that went on the field for us this last week is a credit to themselves and to the organisation, because they certainly not only worked very hard for themselves, but they worked hard for each other and produced some fine performances for the club.
Now you come back home for another match on Saturday, 7:30 start. Again, that later start with the hotter weather against LA Galaxy 2, and they're one of the feeder teams for the MLS. The challenge of a roster that seems to always be changing. Is that the biggest point of difficulty when you face a team like this?
It is, and you never quite know what you're going to get from them. But one thing I do know for certain with LA is that they've got some very talented players. Some of them are younger, but then some of those players have got quite significant MLS minutes under them as well, and so they've been playing at a good level all season. They've actually been in a great run of form in the last month, so I think what we can expect from LA Galaxy is a quality group, irrespective of who is put on the field. I think they're a quality group, and I think we're going to have to be at our best to get a win this weekend.
Have you sensed your guys? You mentioned those matches in quick succession. Now you're back. You've had a week between matches. Guys feeling rejuvenated. I have to think the wins obviously help mentality, but physically, mentally, where's the team right now?
Mentally, very, very good. Physically, we've had to give a couple of guys. I think we had 3 players who played all 3 games, 90+ minutes in all of those games in 6 days, which is a tall order, and everybody contributed in every single game. So we've had to give them a little bit of a lighter few days here and give them a day off, and maybe bring them back a little bit slower this week. So we're careful of that from a physical standpoint. From a confidence, from a mentality standpoint, they couldn't be better, and I think they're probably itching to get back on the field this weekend. Well,
they'll get to Saturday night again, 7:30. Lots of good stuff coming up, but we want to pivot a little bit, and you talked about young guys with LA. You're a really young guy, Rokas, 13 right now, but you recently were part of the U.S. 15 and under national team, went over to Europe, part of the Olympic development program, as I mentioned before. Let's start talking just about your soccer. When did you get to start playing? Why soccer? Why has that become your thing?
My dad always liked soccer, so he showed it to me. So I started at about 6 years old. I played it. I liked it. I was pretty good, so I kept on playing it, kept on getting better, and I guess that's how it all started.
And as far as the Olympic development program and the U.S. program, you got identified about a year ago or so, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So how did all of that go?
Well, I went to South Texas, and there are scouts there, so I got identified. So and then I went to another national camp in SMU, and from that, at first I went to Florida, and then from that camp I went to California.
Okay.
So I did pretty good in those 2 camps, and I went to Croatia because I did not
good enough to make the team, right? Yeah.
And so it was a great experience to be part of that.
What is it like to be on that national team, to go overseas? You've been to Croatia, you've been to some other. I mean, what's that experience been like for you?
It gives you a lot of confidence. Like, you worked hard for this. You've had a lot of help, but you've worked hard. So to finally get what you've been working for is a great feeling.
Is it pretty exciting to travel that far away from home to play a game you love?
Well, you have to get used to it, but yeah.
Yeah, the time change, the food change, all of that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. How much do you get to practice with the guys you're playing with before you start competing?
We start with 2 practices a day, and then before the games we probably have 1. And then we have a game, maybe a rest day. But we've practiced a lot to get ready for the games.
Yeah, got to have some teamwork out there before you get going for sure. Steve, to have a guy like Rokas in the state of Oklahoma, and there are others in that Olympic development pipeline, but what's the importance there from a soccer standpoint to have Oklahoma kids doing what he's doing?
It's terrific, and I think the credit really belongs to Rokas and obviously his family, who've been very supportive of him and to this point. And I think all of the coaches who've worked with him in the past deserve a huge pat on the back as well, because I think when a young player does well, it's usually in the hands of especially the young player, but also the people that touch that player and work with that player over many, many, many years. And I think what it does for Oklahoma soccer, and especially youth players, is give them the vision that they too can achieve great things with hard work, with dedication, with a little bit of luck along the way. And if they keep doing that and persevere for many, many years, they also have an opportunity not only to become a good youth player, but hopefully take that career a little bit further into college and hopefully as a professional player later on as well. And like I've said before on this show, that any player who gets to represent his country, it's a huge honour, a real big deal in their career. And hopefully, we're here in 10 years when he's playing for the full national team in a World Cup, maybe.
Yeah, and it would potentially be in the United States, 2026. When you heard that news a week or so ago, that excite you a little bit?
Yeah, it's pretty great. That's what I'm aiming for, to play there and to be in the U.S. It's pretty great.
Yeah. Talk to me a little bit about, I'm an old person, so I don't know what you and your friends think about soccer nowadays, but I get the sense we're continuing to see a lot of kids play soccer, love soccer. Have you sensed that amongst friends?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Soccer's soccer's getting more and more players are joining, more players are getting better. So I feel like Oklahoma soccer is developing more and more. So like in a couple of years, we can like show that we can,
Compete.
Yeah, compete.
Yeah. Well, I got to think, I mean, Steve, you know that for younger kids to see, young players like Rokas growing up, I'm sure he saw other players, but that's important to have the pipeline, the idea that you can come from Oklahoma and you can make national teams and you can aspire for those things.
Yeah, as you know, we have 4 players from Oklahoma on our team at the Energy FC, and having a young player like Rokas represent the youth club and now represent his country as well. And obviously Rokas has a lot of years to go yet, and a lot of years to keep improving and developing and reach his dreams. But I think for any player to see players from their town, from their home state, to reach greatness of their own accord from their standards, and I think really the vision for these young players is to work hard, keep reaching for the very, very best you can be every single day. And I think with that vision, but with that hard work and perseverance, I think there's a lot of players who have an opportunity, and I think Rokas is right now leading the way in our youth organisation, and hopefully there's many, many more to come.
What's next for you, ODP or US-wise? Do you have more assignments this summer?
Yes, I'm working hard to make the next camp's in August, and then from that camp there's another camp in November. So I'm trying to get ready in case I get called up again. It'd be great if I got called up again.
And it would come from those camps. If you did well in the camps, then you'd make a team potentially.
Yeah.
So there's more this year that you could potentially make, it sounds like.
Yeah, our group's getting ready for the CONCACAF next year for U15. So like the more camps you make, the better.
Yeah. Well, exciting stuff. Well, congratulations on what you've done already, and I hope this is only the first of many times that we get to talk to you about national team experience. Thanks for being here, Coach. Thanks for coming back again. Appreciate you guys. And be sure to stay with the best coverage team anywhere at newsok.com and go to energyfc.com for all your match and ticket information about the Energy.